order, please. Today's meeting of the Municipal Code Enforcement Board is called to order on Wednesday, April 26, 2023. Welcome, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Agendas of today's meeting are on the wall at the entrance to the chambers. Please remember to turn off your cell phones. The Municipal Code Enforcement Board consists of 7 members who are appointed by the City Council. We serve voluntarily. It is this board's intention to promote, protect, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Clearwater by providing this equitable, effective, and inexpensive method of enforcing certain codes within the city. The board considers new business items in 2 parts. First, the violation, and then affirmative relief. Formal rules of evidence do not apply. Each side is limited to 15 minutes. The board may grant additional time. All proceedings will be conducted in a calm, civil manner. Individuals who conduct themselves otherwise will be asked to leave. If necessary, they will be escorted from the chambers. Now I ask all who plan to speak, rise and be sworn in by the clerk.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout your entire testimony?
I do.
Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes of last month's meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of last month's meeting and the meeting of the previous month, or do I need to do them separately?
You can do them together.
Of last month's minutes and the month before last.
I'll make a motion to approve.
May I get a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Is there anyone here to speak on items not on the agenda today?
I'll briefly speak just for a moment here. I just wanted to introduce all of you, Melissa Isbell for the City of Clearwater. Jared Simpson's going to be taking over my role I'll be here next month, but after that he'll be on his own. I'll still be with the city, but he will be assigned to you all. He has previously done this in Tampa and Lakeland, so you're in great hands, but I just wanted to introduce him.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I look forward to working with
Tell us your name one more time.
I'm sorry?
Tell us your name one more time.
Oh, I'm Jared Simpson.
Jared Simpson.
Thank you.
Welcome.
There's no one else here to speak on items that are not on today's agenda? All right, we will get to new business. Our first case is agenda item number 4.1, case 25-23, find respondents TAH 2017-2 Borrower LLC at 1309 Berry Street in violation of code for hauling trailer, and issue an order with compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case? And I will call the city. Mr. Kasman, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Board. Daniel Kasman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is for case number 25-23 for 1309 Berry Street. There's one violation here for Code Section 3-1407A2, A2C, and A3C for vehicle between principal structure and right-of-way, hauling trailer in area between the principal structure and right-of-way, and hauling trailer inside the rear setback not screened by a fence wall or hedge. These are the dates the notice was sent out with the compliance date, and I did receive the certified mail for this property. TAH Borrower LLC is an investment company that owns many properties in Clearwater. We tend to find similar violations at most of their properties. They always sign for the green card, but just tend to not take care of it until the 11th hour when it comes to actually dealing with the violation. But this is one of the rental properties at 1309 Berry Street. There's a large black hauling trailer parked improperly out front. I sent the notice of violation and got the green card back, but when I went back 2 weeks after the compliance date, the black hauling trailer was still at the location. And when I went and checked again yesterday, I'm sorry, it's hard to see in the bottom right there. It was the 25th. The hauling trailer is still parked in the driveway. So compliance will be for the hauling trailer, but parking the vehicle in the rear side setback behind a 6-foot wall, fence, or hedge, by removing the vehicle from the premises. Requesting compliance on or before May 27, 2022, or a fine of $150 a day for every day the violation continues to exist. Anybody got any questions?
Board, does anyone have any questions? No. Can I have a motion,
I move
please?
to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Kasman, do you have recommendations?
That's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
We already did that part, I believe, all you have to do is park the trailer properly in the side or rear setback. And like I said, I'm asking before May 27th, 2023. I'm sorry, it's a mistake there, it should say 2023. May 27th, 2023, still looking a year ago. Or a fine of $150 per day for each day of violation continues to exist.
All right, can I have a second
I
motion?
move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before May 27, 2023. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If the fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Our next case is on agenda 4.2 on our agenda, case 26-23. Fine respondents Gloza Village LLC, Rebus Salas LLC at 1510 Berry Road in violation of code for public nuisance conditions and issue an order of compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case? Please step to the podium. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Procopio, and my address is 6902 West Creek Drive, Tampa, Florida. I'm here on behalf of Glozel LLC and Rebus.
Would you mind spelling your last name?
P as in Paul, R-O-C-O, P as in Paul, I-O.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, I spoke to, I believe, the code enforcement officer earlier today, and we're in agreement to go ahead and put up a fence around the property to keep the graffiti from happening and keep people from dumping on our site. We're currently obtaining permits to redo the property. So, and we've had issues with the building department and code enforcement, there's miscommunication because the building department made us take down a fence that was already there. There was a fence on the property months ago, and because of our permitting, they made us take it down.
Okay.
Because it was put on by the previous owner without a permit.
Okay.
So, but we're fine, as long as code enforcement can get the building department to agree with giving us a permit to put that up. They have our survey, they have the lot lines, they have the sketching of where the fence would go.
Okay.
We just need the departments to communicate.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Is that all that you have to say today?
Yeah.
You have a question?
Yeah, I would ask, how long ago did you file for your permit?
We, let me go back here. We put in for our permits in September of 2022.
Okay.
We are on the final stretch of comments. A development like this goes back and forth with the building department. Comments come to us, we respond to them, our engineers respond to them. So we are hoping that within the next 30 days, we will have a permit so that we could begin construction. My partner also owned the property next door. So the 7-story apartment complex, and we bought that, painted it, made it look nice, and sold it, and we're doing the same thing on this one, but those apartments are going to be ours, and we're going to be renting them to people in Clearwater.
Okay. Good.
Have you had any conversation with the permit department lately?
Every single day,
Every day?
every day. Between our general contractor and the building department, and yes, every day. There's some type of correspondence between them.
Have they told you what the holdup is?
There isn't a holdup. This is common procedure. I mean, when you're talking about a $1.3 million job, you're not going to get the permit within a couple of weeks.
Well, I know.
You're going to submit plans, you're going to review them, there's going to be issues with them that the city wants rectified, they get rectified, they go back, they come back with more issues. It's a back and forth thing.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's got to stop.
Definitely.
Well,
But as far as us putting a fence up, we've always been okay with it. Building department was the one that made us take it down.
Yeah, but that's because of no permit.
Yes,
I
but
understand
at the same time, so with all due respect, the building department has our survey, has an etched out, dotted line where the fence would be. They could have easily issued a permit, and we could have taken it down and then put it back up.
Was there an issue with that previous fence? Like, was it falling apart or
No,
something?
no, the fence, it was a metal chain link fence. It was fine, the fence was fine. There was nothing wrong with it.
Did you save it so you can re-put it back up when you get your...
Well, believe it or not, I mean, the issue of nuisance on that property is not only to you all and to the residents around there, it's also to us. There's been a lot of stuff that's been stolen from that property. And one of them is the fencing.
If I can also interject, in my experience in doing fencing, the city has very specific requirements in terms of, which
Yes.
side faces out, it can't come past the front of the house can't be over 6 feet, and so if the previous fence was put in without permits and was non-compliant, regardless, it would have had to come out at some point.
Okay.
So that's most likely why.
But again, even if it was non-compliant, we would have taken it down, and put another one back up.
Yes, we understand,
You know,
yes.
We want to work with the city, not work against the city.
Yeah.
Another thing we wanted to bring to your attention is, had it not been for somebody contacting me this morning, I would have not known about this hearing. All correspondence that you all have been sending to us has been to the wrong address. Okay, now, the property appraiser's office has the correct address, apparently, because when we sold the property in West Palm Beach, we notified who, City of Clearwater or Pinellas County, where correspondence should go. There is a lien on the property because of this, okay? We didn't even know anything about it. We found out through a title company because we're in the middle of financing right now with the property. And we need to get this removed. And this is how this all sparked up. And this morning I received a phone call and they said, well, at 1:30 you have a hearing. Did you know about it? I'm like, no. What hearing? For what? That had it not been for that, I wouldn't have been here and we would have been in more trouble with you all.
Sir, if I may, Melissa Isabel for the City of Clearwater, can you please give what the address is you believe is the correct address?
6902 West Creek Drive, Tampa, Florida, 33615.
And when did you update that with the public?
Months ago, because the property in West Palm Beach was sold in July of 2022, so immediately afterwards.
So I have a copy of the information that we've been relying on from the property appraiser that was printed on March 10th, 2023.
Okay.
And the address is still 819 North SAPODILLA Avenue in West Palm Beach.
I asked that that please be corrected, because that's not the correct address.
And when was that you asked for that to be?
Oh, months ago. I mean, Pasquale, my partner, came back from Italy in August, so August of 2022 is when we...
Okay, and at any point did you confirm with them that it had been changed?
No, I mean, I really don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. All we know is that we submitted paperwork showing changes of addresses, okay, or we contacted the correct authorities about the change of addresses. And now, all of a sudden, we're getting bombarded with paperwork from the City of Clearwater that we have issues with this property that we had no idea about.
Okay, but you understand that as of March 10th, 2023,
understand.
that the address was still the West Palm Beach?
I understand. There's some type of an error there, but please help correct it. I mean, we can
Okay, well,
do
we
our part.
can't change, we don't have the authority to change what's on the property appraiser's website, but if you contact them, they should, but that's what we rely on as a city.
Pinellas County Property Appraisers. Okay,
Yes, sir. All right, if you want to have a seat, I'll have the city come up.
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gassman, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Board again. Daniel Casman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Claremont. This is case number 26-23 for 1510 Berry Road. There's one violation here for Code Section 3-1503A, B1, B2, B3, and B9 for nuisance, public nuisance condition, abandoned buildings, attractive nuisance, and other nuisance condition. These are the days of notice of violation with compliance. An affidavit of posting was done, and notice of hearing was posted at the property for today's hearing on the 13th of April. So if this property seems somewhat familiar, we saw it here last, I think it was 1 month ago or 2 months ago. We got a lot clearing notice, lot clearing board order. We did go over there and clean up the property, removed a lot of debris, a lot of leaves, a lot of doors, a lot of construction debris. So it was in somewhat of better condition, but as of, this was of the 3rd of March, the issue is that anyone can come onto this property. There's a fence around the property. They were told to get a permit for the fence. Their options were to either take down the fence or just get the permit, and they chose to take down the fence. Didn't have to, could have just got a permit for it. They were just required whatever the building division would have wanted. Do you want to speak to that portion of it, Kevin? or-
Yeah, I was just going to try and clarify a couple of things.
All right.
Step forward, state your name and...
Hello, everybody. I'm Kevin Garriott, building official for the City of Clearwater. And a lot of things were brought up there. I just wanted to address two of them. And one of them did get clarified, is that the fence was taken down not at our request. We did not ask them to take the fence down. They were cited for work without a permit, a stop work order. They didn't get the permit, they took the fence down, or somebody stole it, or whatever happened, it's gone. The other thing I wanted to give you information on is the permit that they've applied for. Believe it or not, that property is in a flood zone. So if they don't raise it up over the base flood elevation, you're limited to 50% of the value of the structure. And some of you have probably heard of that. More common on the beach properties and stuff like that. This falls under that same thing. They have been trying to come up with an appraisal that gives them enough money to do the work that they want to do to change this into a residential building. So, long ways away from that yet, but the appraisers are working on that and going back and forth with our office. So that is underway.
So you said to make it into a residential, is it currently zoned commercial? And is there going to be a conflict there in the zoning?
I think they've got their site plan approval for the use. I think they have made through that. Does anybody here know that? Yes. Yeah, you're the owner. Yes, okay. We have confirmation that, yeah, so they got their site plan approved for the use. So. Any questions for me on that then, building department wise?
It's all residential right around there anyway, right across the street.
It is, yeah.
I live on that street.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll continue.
Yeah, finish your presentation.
So we did go by, we cleaned up the property. The main issue the city is having is that the entire property is easily accessible. There's no windows in the second floor. There's folks who come onto the property. I hear them on the second floor hanging out. The property has been tagged and graffitied many times. There's a whole art gallery there. My issue is that we want the property to be secured to deter people from coming on the property, to keep them from getting injured, and keep them from defacing the grounds of the property. This was the day the notice of hearing was posted at the property on the 13th. So that same day, and then I went back yesterday. Again, the property is just open, and we're looking at anybody getting hurt, falling over a railing, falling out the second floor, tripping on debris that's still there. So, plans can be met for the attractive nuisance by securing the property with a fence to prevent injuries by entry onto the property and prevent utilization of the property by vagrants and vandals. Requesting compliance on or before May 10th, 2023, or a fine of $250 per day for each day the violation continues to exist.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Gaspar? Go ahead.
I've seen the pictures and I get a rough idea of how this thing looks. Is there a way to temporarily secure it, like with a temporary chain link fence around it? I mean, I'm curious.
It would be better for someone from the building division to speak to it, but a fence permit is a separate permit from what I know from the overall building permit.
Well, I'm thinking about a 30-day deadline. If they're going through the permit process and there's issues with the FEMA rules, which I understand that can take a bit of time, especially if they're working on appraisals. They have to get those in. They have to satisfy the building department's concerns and then work through the permit. I don't see that as a 30-day process. I'm wondering if securing the property is the important factor. Is there a way to do that temporarily while the permit process sorts out so that the access issue is resolved?
Why can't we just decide or figure out how long it's going to take to put up a fence, recognizing
that's all we need.
whatever requirements from the city they need, and whether they can get a fence builder and then give them that amount of time to get the fence up before we start finding them. So
That would be a thought. In addition to that, my question is going to be based on the pictures I've seen. I can't quite wrap my head around the property. Is a fence permit going to solve the problem with the access issue that's going on now with people entering it and doing whatever?
It fulfills this part.
If it does,
It fulfills this part that we're trying to fulfill.
and if it does, then perhaps what you do is apply for a separate, just a fence permit, which is much quicker and easier while everything else gets sorted out.
Isn't that what you're asking for?
Yeah, that's what we're, that's
Okay.
where we're at.
Good.
And we just wait to give them a reasonable amount of time to get the fence
Yeah, that's my
put
only
up.
question. It says May 10th. Is that going to be enough time for them to get the
Yeah.
permit? Even though they already had a permit, I guess, I don't, or they didn't have a permit, my bad.
If I may.
Sure.
If I may.
Step forward, sir.
If I may respond. May 10th is possible. I believe I spoke to him earlier. May 10th is possible, but if we could get a little bit more time, only because we want to use a reputable fencing company to come out there and build the fence, okay? I would like the opportunity to respond to something else which really has nothing to do with this here, but at the same time, we do have the appraisal. It was just given to us on Monday, okay? The 50/50 FEMA rule will be complied for this particular property here, and we will be able to build what we want to build here, okay? I've been in communication with a Bryce, what's his name, Bryce? Bob Bryce, last Friday, Thursday or Friday, because an appraisal was submitted to the city, okay? But the appraisal was not worded correctly, okay? And it really wasn't a FEMA appraisal. So he corresponded with me personally, told us what we needed. We contacted the appraisal company. They went out there, they redid the appraisal, and they sent us the paperwork, and we're in good position with that. We are in a very good position with that. Okay? Now, the other thing I want to say, I want to respond to this, okay? Carla Diaz, who works for the city of Clearwater, was the one who we corresponded with back and forth, over and over, over and over. She was the person that let us know that for us to be able to submit our plans, that fence needed to come down, okay? We wouldn't have taken it down. We would have been more than happy to try to apply for a fence permit as well, but we needed to get the plans submitted into the city of Clearwater, okay? And that was keeping it from happening. They would not accept the plans, okay? So somewhere along the line, there's miscommunication.
Yeah.
Now, we want to comply with the city of Clearwater 100%. We have no issue there, but we just need to communicate a little bit better.
So do you think that if we extended that out to maybe May 27th, that would be plenty of time for
I
you?
can guarantee you that from now to May 27th, there will be a permit for the fence, and there will be a fence around the property. And I can say that code enforcement is right. Having a fence around that property will at least deter people from getting into the property and dumping. Now, the vagrants, you and I both know, if they want to get in, they're going to get in. Okay?
But that's on
And the kids that are doing the graffiti, those are kids in the neighborhood. They're going to get in. They're going to jump the fence, a 6-foot fence. They're going to jump it. Okay? They're going to continue doing that. Just so that's on the record as well.
But it would still be your responsibility.
Of course, we'll pay that. You know how many times we paid all this stuff?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that if
Luckily, when you saw
someone
it,
got hurt on the property, it would be your responsibility.
it's not, they're not bad pictures, because he could tell you what was on there before that we painted over was a lot worse. At least that looks a little bit like art.
Okay, sir. All right, well,
Thank you.
we'll thank you, and we'll make our ruling.
Yes, a step up in the graffiti.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Can I have a motion,
Yeah,
please?
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before May 27th, 2023. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation. For each day each violation continues to exist. If the fees and fines remain unpaid, 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, we do have a public comment on this.
Oh, do we?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Jones?
Mr. Johnson, step to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is William Johnson, 2694 Redford Court West in Clearwater. I've been following this property for the last year, and if I may show that picture, at one time there was a fence there, but it was not maintained.
Oh, there's one up there. I'm sorry.
There it is.
This was a picture that was taken in February 18th of this year. The other thing that I would point out is that this property had fines for maintenance problems. Those fines were abated at the request of the applicant and that was approved by the city council. A abatement agreement was signed in August, and one of the provisions of that was that the property owner shall begin construction of the property within 4 months of the effective date, and also that there are several other comments here. We're way past that. Observation is that they're not proceeding. The fines were $400,000 that were abated. They were to be reimposed if the conditions were not met, and they have not been met. So I don't know whose fault that is, but
I was going to say, I don't think that's an issue that's
it's frustrating
before us.
to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But
that's
we can't really speak on that part of it, of what's happened previously, but we can, what we just did is we did our order for him to get his fence up by the 27th of May, and we'll go from there. Does it have to do with that, or does it have to, yeah, that's a whole different thing, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, though. Inspector Hasman? Are you, is it,
Are we on to the next case now?
are we done?
We're done with that, right?
Yes, if you made your order and you give them that time frame and that.
Yep. As long as you're happy with that, we're happy. All right, our next item
Thanks, Jan.
Thank you.
is 4.3, which has been withdrawn. Our next item is 4.4, which has been continued to May 24th of 2023. Our next item on the new business is 4.5 on the agenda, case 2923, find respondent PBP Clearwater LLC at 1721 Gulf to Bay Boulevard in violation of code exterior surfaces, and issue an order with compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Sir, will you step forward? State your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Abdi Guzar. I am the managing member of the PBP of Clearwater LLC. Our business address is 200 9th Avenue North, Suite 200, Safety Harbor, Florida 34695.
Could you repeat your name for me?
Sorry?
Your name again?
ABDI, last name BOOZAR -JOMEHRI.
Thank you.
Mr. Boulder, do you admit or deny the violation?
I deny the violation.
Deny the violation? Okay. Have a seat right there, and we'll let the city present their case, and we'll get back to you. Thank you. Inspector Stevens, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is John Stevens. I'm a Code Compliance Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is going to be reference case number 2923 for 1721 Gulf to Bay. We have one violation here of Code Section 3-1502B for exterior surfaces. This is a date that I wrote up the violation with the compliance date a month later, so February 18th of this year, and received the certified mail receipt back on January 23rd of this year. This was on the day before I mailed out the violation. You can see there the awning is ripped, but that's not what I had cited them for. I had cited them for what you see that looks like appears to be mold or mildew growing on the side of the paint there. Same day, and then this is 3 days after the compliance date. Another inspector had also sent them a sign violation, and you see that they actually fixed the awning there on the front of the building, but at the time, it still looks like there's either mold or mildew or whatever that is that's growing on the side of the building there. And it looks to be somewhat, almost like a rust stain or something of that nature. From my understanding, the gentleman back here, he actually talked to our sign inspector, but I never had any contact with him about this, and he has information he wants to provide about this here in a moment. And it's the same day of the violation, and then this morning. I went and took a follow-up picture to see if anything else had been done, and it still appears that we have what appears to be mold or mildew growing on the side of the building. Obviously, compliance can be met for this by pressure washing the exterior of the building to remove any mildew or rust. And then our recommendation for the case would be to request compliance on or before May 26th for the violation of exterior surfaces, with a fine of $150 a day for each day the violation exists.
Board, do we have any questions for Inspector Stevens? All right. Sir, if you'll come back up.
I received 2 violations at the same time. After hurricane, we lost the face of the building. And I got 2 violations, one for the face of the sign, the other one was for mold and mildew issue. And I contacted the inspector, code enforcement officer, and I talked to him and I said, the sign is already taken care of, and we have already pressure washed, which is true. We have spent almost gallons and gallons of demaldicides on that face of the building and pressure washed the building twice. What you see there is not mold and mildew. It's just the color of the walls. I did not speak to the gentleman because I was talking to the other inspector. I thought that both of them were the same person. Till I just talked to him and he said, you should have called me before. I said, I didn't hear anything. Then all of a sudden I get a notice that you come for hearing because you are in violation of the code. I thought I had this conversation with the other gentleman. So basically, there is nothing wrong that I can read from this document and regarding mold and mildew. Of course, there is nothing else wrong with it. So what the gentleman just showed was a side of the building on the more like a kind of east side. There was a color of the sprinkler systems because we have a valve system. We can clean that one. That shouldn't be a problem. We can use the, what you might call it, calcium cleaner. But the walls of the building are not having any mold and mildew. And I can run my fingers through it and there is nothing. We can put Clorox on it. I suggested to the code enforcement gentleman as much as he wants, and it's not going to come out because there is no mold and mildew on the building. So as such, I don't think this clause applies to our building, and we shouldn't be able to liable for something that there's nothing wrong with the building. In second thoughts also, we are in negotiation with a national group. This is the property, we always rented it to national groups. West Marine was there before. We have had a couple of other potential clients, and now we are negotiating with another national group that possibly rent the whole thing. This negotiations has been dragging, but once they take it, they're going to paint the whole building, and it would be silly for me to spend $40,000 painting the building that doesn't have a mildew, so I can satisfy a non-necessary code enforcement, how I can say, allegation, not the fact. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, wait just a minute, I have a question for
Sure.
you. On the side of the building that does look like mold, which direction is that facing?
I'm sorry?
Which direction is that side of the building facing?
There is no mold and mildew in any side of
I
it.
know, but what side? In the picture,
The allegations are that...
is that a north side?
North side of the building.
Yeah.
That's correct. That is where the sign is. No, there's no question about that.
I have a question for the inspector.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
Thank
The
you.
inspector.
Oh, for the inspector. Inspector
Is
Stevens.
the issue in the way on the building, is that mold or is it the appearance?
It looks to be mold. Obviously, we don't test things
Right.
like that, so I can't speak to whether it's either mold or mildew, but obviously it's, it looks like it is stained in some way, or either the paint is faded, and the exterior services code, requires that you keep those things off of it, as well as keeping it an attractive appearance,
That answers my
which
question.
is subjective, but
Yeah.
Did you get up close to it, reasonably close to look?
yeah.
Well, and the reason I ask whether it's a mold issue or an appearance issue, because if you pressure wash it, it's not mold and it remains with the same appearance, is it still an issue? That's really my question. Is it still a problem for code enforcement if the appearance doesn't improve?
I think that would be a better question answered by someone else that's got a little bit more experience in this than I do.
Well, maybe the way to ask it then is if it's pressure washed as recommended, but the appearance remains the same, is it still an issue for code enforcement?
Yes.
Rebecca
Ms. Mulder?
Mulder, Code Manager. How are you guys doing?
Fine.
The answer to your question is yes. The exterior surface code doesn't just pertain to mold and mildew, but the exterior presentation of residential and commercial properties. So whether that meet, the resolution is to paint it, to pressure wash it, whatever that may be, to make sure that it's maintained in the condition in which it was designed to be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions for the inspector?
Yeah, just a, I don't know if it's a question or a comment, if they pressure wash, say they give them a deadline, they pressurize it, pressure wash it, and it doesn't take the mold off, then they gotta go through the process of finding a painter and paying a painter and all that stuff, which is gonna take time. So we gotta give them a little buffer in there when we decide what to do, whatever that
Yeah,
might be.
it takes time.
Right,
Because I'm sure they're gonna try pressure washing first, because that makes sense.
sure.
And then if that doesn't work and the city isn't happy, then they're gonna have to go with paint.
Right. Normally, in the construction world, if you're going to do exterior paint, you're going to pressure wash first anyway to make sure you get
True.
a good paint job that stays for a number of years. And if that doesn't resolve appearance, if it's, the reason I'm asking about an appearance issue
No, it's a good question.
is understanding the owner's position that if there's an impending sale, he doesn't want to spend $40,000 to paint it.
Agreed.
Maybe there is a simpler solution that solves his problem with the city where he's not able to spend the $40,000.
I just wanted to put
It's
in
up to
that.
him to figure that out, but still,
I just want to throw in that time frame,
Sure.
pressure washing, painting and all that.
you're absolutely right.
The owner wants to speak, yeah.
Okay. Sir, you come back up, please.
I happen to be an architect and also have built many buildings here. There is nothing on the code said the appearance, color of the building, which is a subjective issue, can be enforced, color be changed. You can have your color of your building gray, you can have it blue, you can have it purple. So as such, this is the color of the building at this time. If there is no mold, there is no mildew, there is no patches, there is no peeling, there is nothing else like that. There is nothing for this particular ordinance to be enforced. That is my, yes, we like to have whatever color we like to paint the buildings, but that painting color of the building is a subjective issue. It's not something unless some board decides that all the buildings should be pink or beige or whatever and enforces that one. In some communities it is, or the tile roof should be, but there is not such a thing, such an ordinance here. So there is no reason I should be subjected to any kind of fine on any kind of doing any work. For a building that's pressure washed, that has been demolished, did everything that we were supposed to do. That's why I don't understand why am I here.
Sir, you have to understand, we have to go by what our inspectors tell us.
But if your inspector is wrong, then it is simple.
That's your word, we don't know that.
Okay, then I am a citizen of this city, or resident of this city. I'm citizen of America, but resident of this city, forgive my change of language.
Sorry.
But the reality is that I am a professional general contractor. I built your Clearwater library, not library, courthouse. I built Clearwater High School.
And sir, you're looking at two of us up here.
Pardon me?
You're looking at two construction men up here as well.
Okay, so I did the Clearwater High School. I did the tornado on that building. So I live in this community. I work in this community. I own property in this community for the past 40 years. If there was something wrong with my building, I would be the first one to correct it. But I don't see anything wrong with my building.
Can I ask?
Like if it's clean, how, I kind of agree. Like if it's clean, then what's the issue?
I think it's the staining. The mold has been there, you pressure washed it off there, but there was still, it left stains on there, even though the mold's not
This is the
there.
color of the building. This is not
Mold will come back after you pressure.
The mold would come back, but we have already, I have other projects where you go, demolish side, you pressure wash, everything goes out. This is not the case. The building doesn't have that problem. So since that's the problem, that doesn't have a problem, I don't know why am I wasting your time and the board's time on subjective issues.
What specific ordinance is he in violation of? Is that a question for the city attorney?
The specific by the code, I am talking.
We're asking.
No, I read it. It says, all exterior walls shall be maintained in a secure and attractive manner. All defective structural and decorative elements of any building wall shall be repaired or replaced in a workman-kind manner to match as closely as possible the original material and construction of the building. Exterior surface shall be free of mildew. That is what I was cited for. That is why recommendation was that I should pressure wash and do mildew or pay $150. I have done that. So as such, that particular knife,
Is the
if code
exterior
enforcement,
attractive though?
I'm
Because
sorry?
part of that says the exterior has to be
but
attractive.
that is not what they cited for. They cited it specifically, and they gave me instructions what to do, to demilicize and pressure wash. I have done those. Now, if code enforcement wants to go back and refigure out another reason to put me on notice, that's a different story. Then we can argue that. But that's not why I'm here.
What is the surface type?
Surface is a concrete, split-face concrete.
So is it possible, like even when like the
would
sun
have-
hits it, it's gonna have like a
It would have
different...
pores on it, and no matter how you paint it, even when we painted it before, there's always some sort of,
Bleed through?
some sort of
Bleed
gray variations. There will be always. My own office building here in Safety Harbor has the same blocks, and but that one is even the color is on the block, and you come and look at it, and looks black and white and red. And we pressure wash that one every year.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you.
Board, the last thing I guess I would just add on that before you guys make your consideration, yes, he pointed out the specifically on the paperwork says it looks like there's mold or mildew growing on the side of the thing. I would just remind you that the code section he was cited under was that section that covers that whole paragraph that he read, which talks about it being in an attractive manner. So it is up for the board. I presented the evidence. You guys, I guess, have to make a recommendation of whether you believe it's in an attractive manner or not.
Can we see the photos
Yeah,
again?
Can we see the pictures again?
Yes, please.
It's up to the board to make a factual determination as to whether or not there's a violation. So that is your purview, and that's your decision in this particular case.
Seems to me there's a violation. We give them enough time to do it.
Yeah, there's different.
It's
Back up for them to read.
3-,
I think the whole.
it doesn't have the whole thing on it.
Can we go to pictures after the new awning was put up?
Yeah.
Because that was after he pressure washed it.
Yeah, that's better.
See?
That's not attractive.
You see, it's,
Okay, we're gonna give you the language of the violation for you all to read, and then you'll make a factual determination of that.
Okay, I can't.
We can't read that.
We're gonna see.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Secure and attractive manner. Can I comment?
Mr. Kenny, go ahead, yes.
In reading that, it says, "All defective structural and decorative elements of any building wall shall be repaired or replaced in a workmanlike manner to match as closely as possible the original materials and construction of the building." Again, exterior surfaces shall be free of mildew, rust, loose materials, including peeling paint and patching, painting, or resurfacing shall be accomplished to match the existing or adjacent surfaces, so on and so forth. I think I can see from the pictures that the exterior surface has deteriorated in appearance, which seems to me, it is directly referenced in the code language.
The first one.
Just a moment, just a moment.
If it's deteriorated, and we can see that from the photos, then, and granted, the owner has attempted to pressure wash and make it look better, and if that's not improved the appearance, then it would seem to me that, based on what I just read, that it should be improved to match the I mean, the appearance needs to be corrected.
Or another protected covering.
Yeah. Can you hear the owner again?
Come on up, sir.
Please read the specifics of this same ordinance that they sided with. That is not subject of this conversation. Subject is the mold and mildew, cleaning it up, make sure it is clean. And that's what we have done. So as such, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I stand corrected, as far as the board is concerned, I am in compliance with that violation. Thank you.
The violation he was cited for is the number that you're...
Yeah.
The whole thing right
It's
there.
3-1502.B, and that's the whole, both paragraphs. I know it says,
Specifically, during the recent inspection, the above listed condition existed at this property and must be addressed in accordance with property maintenance ordinance to avoid further actions and
Sir, we can
please
read.
address any visible mildew and or dirt, peeling or failing paint and or other damage to external surface of by the compliance date.
Would you not agree that the paint is failing?
Paint is not failing. Paint is there. If it was failing, then you should see the concrete. You don't see the concrete.
Well, do you agree the building's there?
I'm sorry?
Never mind.
all right, board, do we have any more questions? You want to discuss this anymore?
I mean, it also says that it's supposed to match the existing surface, and obviously there's a mismatch now.
It is decoloration. It's not mismatch. It's not black and white. It's not gray. It is decoloration of the whole color.
Can I ask you a question? Are you finished doing what you're going to do to the wall? Are you going to pressure clean it again, or you're not going to?
I'll be happy to pressure clean it, pressure wash it again. That's not a problem.
If he pressure washes it again and the city comes out and says it's not good, he's going to have to paint it. Would you all agree? So we give him enough time to do that, and we can move on.
Oh, I can do that. I can do that. All right, thank you,
You're
sir.
in violation, and you know, go for it.
All right, can I have a motion, please?
They need a first
I
reading.
move to find a responsible violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Have a second motion?
You have to give them time. I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before June 27th. Is that good, Nicole?
Yep.
Yeah.
June 27, 2023. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid, 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
It's June 27th?
June 27th.
Okay.
All in favor?
Extended.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carried. They were going to give you until the 27th of June. We're going to find you in violation, and we're going to give you until the 27th of June to go ahead and maybe try to pressure wash it, try to get it all one color, and get it attractive as the code states. And we know that you've taken care of the mildew, but we're going to see if you can go back and maybe pressure wash it again or something.
No, sir.
No. We just want you to go back and try to do the best you can in getting.
Sir, I just need you to come.
You need to be up here.
Thank you.
Since somebody started...
The inspector will be back out.
He'll be back out.
He'll be back out.
See, the thing is that if I pressure wash it and still the condition exists and comes June 24, then what is the situation there?
Talk to the inspector.
Pardon me?
That's up to the...
Yeah, that'll be up to the
If you
inspector.
make a good faith effort to you will have to pay it. You'll have to talk to them, get a good faith effort going, have a contract started.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody will be happy.
Thank you, sir.
This was just a misunderstanding.
Good luck to you, sir.
All right, our next case on the agenda is 4.6, case 3023, which has been continued until May. Our next item is agenda number 4.7, case 3123. Find respondents Gerardo Family Trust at 818 Chestnut Street in violation of code for unsafe building and permits, and issue an order with a compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that?
I am, Your Honor, Dr. Garrido for Garrido Family Trust. If I may address the
Your
board
address
before
too,
we
please.
begin.
I don't believe he was sworn in.
Oh, yeah, you weren't, we need to swear
Okay,
you in.
I'm sorry.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout your entire testimony?
I do.
Now restate your name and address for the
My
record.
name is Eddie Garrido. I own Garrido Family Trust, which owns 818 Chestnut Street, City of Clearwater. I'd like to address the board on a couple of issues. First, I have a non-disclosure agreement with the city. They paid me a sum of money, and part of my non-disclosure agreement, according to Risk Osorio, the city manager, was that the code enforcement department would leave me alone. So on August 12, 2021, I had Clearwater Police Department chased a drunk driver down Chestnut Street, and the car drove into my building. Okay? Clearwater Fire Rescue, Clearwater Police, Clearwater Mayor's Office, City Manager, Risk Manager, nobody called me. The lieutenant on scene for the fire department lied to my attorney's associate, told her that they had been contacted me and that had approached me. Inspector Cantrell for the city of Clearwater shows up probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the 21st, speaks to my office manager, Cheryl Canati, and I have an affidavit from her as well as other employees in my office, and he stated that the building was safe and that we could resume operations as long as it's boarded up. In addition to that, Sunstar Paramedics, Clearwater Fire Rescue, and the whole band's merry men left body bags with parts, blood, syringes, needles, 4x4s. Luckily, I own a medical practice and I use my own red bag. The city of Clearwater did absolutely zero to help me with anything. Part of my non-disclosure agreement with Rick Osorio was that the building department needed to go away. So I have a couple of questions and I'll go in order, so if you don't mind. So 3 weeks later, on or about August or September 12th, I received a certified letter from Dana Root, the deputy building official. Mr. Root never showed up to my building, never inspected my building, or never saw anything. I want to know what education Inspector Cantrell has to declare my building unsafe, number one. I want to know what he inspected, what pictures you have that declare the building unsafe. The city of Clearwater enters into this non-disclosure agreement, issues me a payment check for turning off my power and losing $56,000 in drugs. I run a nonprofit. All my patients lost their meds. They lost their refrigerated items. I lost 4 nurse practitioners. I lost my office manager, and I lost $1.5 million. Not one single thing in the city of Clearwater. So allow me to continue. The mayor resigns. Rick Osorio is fired or quits. No call from him or anybody for that matter. I want pictures of the date of the accident was taken, what pictures he took to determine the building was unsafe, what is the Florida building code regarding an unsafe building, and who is qualified to make that determination. After I got the settlement with the city, I received a letter from the building department, which was supposed to be squashed. This letter says that my building is unsafe, and I want to know where they come up with this information that it's unsafe. I spent $2,500 with a professional engineer to come out to my building, to get in my attic, to look at my walls, and determine that, in fact, it wasn't. On their complaint, they state, hold on.
Was it safe, or what, you said you...
They said it was unsafe.
And did your guys said it was safe?
Correct. The PE, under Florida Building Code, you have a special provision, which was turned into the city. They decided to make my building unsafe. I have to practice medicine. I have to seek care for patients. I just can't go anywhere. The insurance company owes me $150,000. I got $200,000. I lost 56 with the city. I'm already bleeding money. I have been bleeding money. I'm out of business. And all I've done is I sold one of my properties so I can continue to finish my building. I painted the roof. I painted the wall. I repaired the structure within 72 hours of getting that letter. So if anybody has a problem, the city building department is at fault. Let me further identify some other issues for you. When I put solar on my building, the city of Clearwater states, and I follow, you must have an emergency contact number for the fire department to get a hold of you. So I want to ask the board, where was the fire department looking at my emergency contact number on my building? It wasn't anywhere to be found. So body parts, letters certified, addressing me, telling me my building's unsafe. When I negotiated with and I apologize for paraphrasing some of the dates and times, it's been a while, I'm stressed out. Obviously you can tell, I lost everything, okay? My wife left me, my building's closed, I have nothing left, all right? So I put my heart and soul into this place. I came into this place, I made it look nice. It got destroyed. These people are at fault. So if we want to get into non-disclosure agreements and get into the nitty-gritty, I'm all about it. I'll retain counsel, request another hearing for another date. But I want copies of all body-worn cameras, I want copies of all emails, I want copies of all text messages, I want copies of everything now. He says, I want to know if I'm being held to this standard, okay? And going back to the Florida Building Code, it specifically states that if you have an unsafe condition, you have the right to fix that building in emergency. Then the city of Clearwater wants me to pull a permit after the fact. Well, you just made me spend $2,500 to get a PE letter instead of getting a GC to pull a permit and give me the time to fix my building. So you put me under the gun. You made me do this, and then I provide you a letter that says that I'm exempted from a professional engineer, and you guys go on this bandwagon. So you want me to pull a permit? I've been not practicing medicine. You guys can verify me. I'm on video. I'm on Channel 8 News. I am expecting the city to help me. I'm expecting, this is my first time in a public open forum to address my issues. I have people leaving Fort Harrison driving 120 miles an hour, and Clearwater Police says that they don't have enough people to patrol the area. I've spoken to the patrol commander, I've spoken to lieutenant, the police chiefs never called me back, the fire chiefs never called me back. I'm waiting. Who was supposed to clean up the body parts in my building if I'm not a medical professional? What about all the syringes? So you guys can walk with impunity and do nothing wrong, or violate any laws that you want, and then we get zinged? I don't think so. So the building's painted. I put artificial turf on the outside. I painted my roof. The building looks immaculate. I have a picture to show you guys. At some point in the closed forum, we have to go into a non-disclosure agreement. If you guys want to do it in an open setting, that's fine with me. It's the city's purview to do that. But part of the deal was, bye-bye. No more headaches from you guys. I've done everything you've asked me to, and even though I did it, they didn't do it. So why should I go pull a permit, or why should I do anything else when I've already provided a PE letter? It's already safe and sound. The purpose of a building permit is for a city official to come out and inspect your property. So what confidence do I have in these guys when they're willing to write a letter? So please tell me, you guys sit on the board, how much time do you have to tell somebody that their building's unsafe, or to retract your statement? Or does a deputy building official need to come out, get in my attic, look at my walls? How do you determine that? I don't know.
Or this is the first time we're hearing this.
Well, sir, I sent a lot of emails to the city risk manager and everybody else, and then for 8 months, no return.
This is the first time we're hearing it.
I
Yeah, just to
understand.
be clear, it sounds like you have valid concerns, but we are strictly code enforcement and in a volunteering setting. And it sounds like a lot of what you're talking about is above our pay grade. Like, we're a volunteer group here, and we feel for what you're saying. We just need to hear what the inspector is here for, and hear the evidence and see your evidence. But all that other stuff, like, unfortunately, we're not privy to that. We can't make decisions on that. And I'm sorry that you're going through all that.
Well, I feel that we have a non-disclosure agreement in place, and the
Just
city did not.
we're not privy
Well,
to
here's
that.
another problem. I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's up to
There's no professional engineer letter that I provided to the city in these documents, so you have incomplete documents. So why don't we reset this until next month?
We have nothing.
Well, okay, well, I don't have all their founding information.
We're not attorneys, we don't work for the city.
We're not attorneys.
This is not from the attorney. This is from a code official.
It's just the first, we're listening to you.
We're trying to hear you, we are. I just take a deep breath, and please understand that that's not we don't work for the city, we're not attorneys, we're not in risk management, we have nothing to do with that. We're here concerned about you as a citizen, that's why we're here.
Right.
So we want to hear your side, and we want to hear the inspector's side.
And just so, again, to clarify for the record, if you're going to submit into evidence, right, I'm sworn in, so this is almost a judicial proceeding. You know, you guys are elected or appointed for whatever the case is. This is incomplete documentation provided to you guys. There's no pictures of the building repaired. There's tons of emails from me addressing everybody, and the fact that you get, no, I understand, but I'm just letting you know beforehand, because this is a dog and pony show, not you guys, but what they're doing, because the risk manager specifically had a conversation with me, my wife, the office manager, and said, Mr. Garrido, we're done. Okay, you've been through enough. So I'm willing to entertain what these guys have to say, but the building has been completely done, and it's been done for a year.
Well, let us hear it.
Yeah, have a seat right in the front row, and we'll hear from and he'll have pictures and everything.
Before Mr. Cantrell speaks, I just want to clarify a few things. First of all, the city does not have a non-disclosure agreement. They may have a settlement agreement, which I do know does exist, but it's not a non-disclosure agreement. And anything that he just previously disclosed would be part of that, so obviously you can see.
Sir,
You cannot speak unless you're up there.
thank you.
So regardless, there's a settlement agreement in place, and that is the case, not a non-disclosure agreement. And secondly, just for your board, having a little bit of background information on this particular case, the accident that occurred in this case was August 11th of 2021. This has been going on for almost 2 years. Any agreements that were made for that particular accident and would not have been an ongoing discussion and a long-term negotiation with the city. The building department is its own entity and is able to proceed as needed, especially in a situation where this has been going on for 2 years. And I believe Mr. Cantrell will give you the details, but just so you are aware, before he begins, there's only been one permit pulled on this property, and that is for solar.
Inspector Cantrell.
Good afternoon, Board. Jason Cantrell, City of Clearwater. Internationally certified in building inspections, plumbing inspections, building plan review, plumbing plan review, as well as a certified floodplain manager, and I am state licensed in those as well. Here we have the property at 818 Chestnut Street. Citing 2 violations. It was an unsafe structure, and then it was followed up by a stop work order. The unsafe structure cited Section 3-1502A for property maintenance requirements and Section 3-1503B2 for nuisances. And the stop work order was citing Sections 4-203A1 for permit required and Article 4, 47.083.2 for work commencing before permit issuance. Notice of violation was sent on 8/25/2021 for the unsafe structure and 10/22/21 for the stop work order. And follow-up notices were sent on February 11th, 22, October 19th, 22, and February 2nd of 23. Compliance date was 27 days after the receipt of the notice. The notice of hearing was sent. There was 2 of them sent. Once first on October 19th, 2022, and then again on February 1st, 2023. Affidavits of posting were done on January 12th, 2022, October 19th, 2022, and February 1st, 2023, and certified mail receipt was received on February 23rd, 2022, and April 28th, 2022. This is the property. It is just at the corner of Chestnut Street and Prospect, just to the east of Myrtle Avenue. And disregard the address up in the top corner. That's where the camera view is standing. But this is the building. This is 818 Chestnut. Where the arrow is pointing is the area where the car went through the building. It's repaired in this photo. Actually, let me rephrase that. It was prior to the accident in this photo. That was February 21st there. This is on the morning that I went out. The morning it was reported to me from the fire department. You could see the fire department did secure the building at that point. I was let into the office by two ladies. One was Whitney Vanader, and I'm not sure who the other woman was. This is looking down the hall toward, I'm in their lobby area, looking down toward the area where the car came through. You could see the amount of damage right there. You see the window has been knocked out. The concrete masonry units are destroyed. There's probably electrical in that wall. I'm not entirely sure on that. Just another view in the same room. And that's just showing the supports that the fire department put in to keep it from collapsing. But, at that point, they have no idea whether or not it's going to collapse. Just another view. You can see the destruction on the wall there. I find it hard to believe any engineer would say that is safe. There's another view. And this is, I'm not sure of the date. It says December 21st up in the corner. I'm not sure if that's correct. But you can see the wall has been partially repaired at that time. The plywood's still over where the window was. And in August 2022, you can see that it has been completely repaired back to its original state. Copy of one of my postings. This is before I was emailed and told not to step foot on his property. Not sure why we're not advancing. There we go. This is my second posting from the right-of-way. And this is on April 13th. That was the posting for today's hearing with the AstroTurf in the right-of-way, which will surely be addressed as well. Any questions?
Board, do
Yes.
you have any questions? Go ahead,
Well,
Mr.
first
King.
off, a comment. I sympathize with your situation that you've been through a lot. You got a settlement from the city, but based on my experience as a contractor, I know that anytime you do anything structural to a building, you pull a building permit. I don't care what city council has. I don't care what past history is. It's standard. It's the Florida Building Code. You know, the state of Florida requires that if you do anything structural to a building, and if it damage at this level, you typically, I haven't seen this specific site, I've seen the pictures, but typically you're getting engineer drawings, submitting those for a building permit, and then you're doing the construction. Once you receive the building permit, you're having that work inspected to make sure it's not a life, safety, and health issue. That's the primary thing. I know that there's, from my experience, there's no statute of limitations, and they consider that important so that nobody gets hurt. And so that's standard operating procedure, which would seem to me falls outside anything that occurred with the city council. The Florida Building Code still applies to a building. And so that would seem to me to be the case. That you still, whenever you do construction, you have to pull building permits and get your proper inspections, and then that's the standard procedure.
If I may, I'd also ask Mr. Root to come forward and speak on some of the items that were previously brought up.
Hi, I'm Dana Root. I'm the Assistant Building Official for the City of Clearwater, and we did receive a letter from a PE from a engineer that did inspect. I believe he looked at the work that was done and stated that the building was safe. And I received that in an email, but it was not digitally signed and sealed. So I asked for a original copy or a digital seal, and we have not gotten that letter yet.
Okay.
Nor an application for permit.
Mr. Garrido?
I will also, if I may, just based on the comments, is that I know that it does occur sometimes when work has been performed without a permit that an engineer can provide a letter of compliance. And that oftentimes will suffice. But again, it would have to be digitally signed and properly submitted for the city to accept it.
If it pleases the board, that letter is digitally signed. It was rectified, verified, provided to Rick Osorio, the city manager. And again, my questions were unanswered. He sent a slew of inspection certificates. I have a PhD. That doesn't make me qualified to determine whether I have a structural instability or not. I want to know how they determined that it was unsafe. If you notice the impact, it went through the window. I've studied this case carefully because I've retained attorneys and I have ongoing litigation, and it's going to be a while. But the point of impact was through the window. So therefore, the tie beam that's on top, which they didn't mention anything about, and there's no load-bearing wall because it's a tie beam and the roof is a hip gable, and all the pressure points are at the ends of the building. So inside internally, there may be one or two load-bearing walls, and none of them were there. So again, he said there may or may not be electrical outlets or not. Well, if you look on the wall, you could see if there's anything that was cut by the fire department, Romex, the ceiling was exposed. You obviously saw the walls that were open. I just painted the building 3 days ago. It's been in the same condition with the same window, not painted, but I got some money when I sold my house on Valentine's Day, and I broke my ankle, so I waited 30 days, and then I painted my building with my best friend that's right there. So I haven't had anybody to help me. I ran out of money because my insurance company's not paying me. I lost $56,000 in drugs, and I got a partial, a payment. That wasn't even enough to cover all the damage from the city. And again, they didn't address the issue. We had a hard time with the phone number. And what if people use my phone number? Anybody. No, any police officer that responded, not a single person called me. You know how I got woken up? I got woken up to, you got a dead body inside your building at 6:30 in the morning. Thanks a lot. So I have demonstrated here with this conversation today that there has been gaps, and he's stating that he's not digitally signed. I will be more than happy to have my attorney send you the digital letter, and I will forward this email to the board in contrast to what he just said, because that is not true. I had emails with Rick Osorio, and I re-emailed that to Larry. Then I also had a conversation with the mayor. Excuse me.
For the clarification, Rick Osorio is a former risk management supervisor or director. He has no authority over the building department, nor does he have any education for the same. Any information that he would have received, he would have forwarded to Mr. Root.
It seems that it's going to be a contentious situation, so I've retained counsel. So I moved to have this reconvened, or allow me to present letters again to the board and to the deputy building official, and then neither one of them answered. What makes you qualified? You don't have a structural engineering degree. The guy who signed my paperwork has a PhD, okay, a PhD. And he, again, you mentioned Florida Building Code. Let's go to 6th edition, 2020. Most current one, we're always 3 years behind. And let's look at the emergency provision for repair of a building. It's in there. It's not my job to tell anybody here how to do theirs. I'm simply stating facts. That letter cited the building code provisions of that repair. And that's it. There was no electrical work done there. It was all shiplap. It was all drywall that was repaired. And the flooring got all cracked. And I have 36 by 36 porcelain tiles on my floor, and I have brand new cabinets that were installed in my building, and that was an operating room. It blew out my lights. It blew out my table. My table's $35,000, and it got crushed. But it doesn't matter, because this is an argumentative point. If I would have known that the city risk manager was not going to do his job and not specified to that, I don't know. But at this point, I feel that this is not going to go in my favor, so I'm going to retain counsel, negotiate with the city again, request my appointment with the mayor's office since he resigned. I haven't had follow-up. And he mentions 2 years. I didn't get that letter, and I have a copy of the letter, and he actually submitted it. It was a couple of weeks later. If you guys were so concerned, why didn't you come back the next day and give me a letter and say, get your staff out of the building?
Talk to me, sir. Talk to the board, sir.
But he wrote a letter, right? And he's standing before you, and he's telling you that he does not have a signed, sealed letter. That's not true. And number one. Number two, what made you sign something without coming to look at it for yourself?
Well, what we're going to try to do today is try to get you a little bit of relief and try to get you, to get some of this stress off of you and see if maybe we can give you a little more time. We're going to discuss that here in a minute, and we'll try to do our best to help you out.
If it were one more thing, and he may not recall, he even said, well, we won't charge you for the permits. And I said, my response to them was, if you guys weren't competent the first time around and you declared my building unsafe without actually conducting a structural inspection, I can walk in the door with my iPhone with a 14 zoom and make it look like I was right in there. Okay. So that's not, and I have two other witnesses that will come here and before the board testify under oath that the comments that were made are inaccurate and they're mismatching on numerous occasions. So before you guys even get started, if we're going to go down that path of permitting, I want that PE letter brought up before the board, and then he can go back to the same thing. My uncle's an architect and a GC.
I have to
register him and pull.
I have to see what our inspector's recommendations are for this case before I know what they want us to do.
And I invite you guys to come out and look at the building for yourselves, because there's nothing like it. I haven't had a single person from the city come say, hey, are you okay?
May I ask a question of Mr. Root?
Yes, go ahead. You can have a seat, sir. Thank you.
If the city receives the signed, digitally signed letter from the architect or engineer, what does that accomplish? Does that satisfy your needs?
It will officially notify us that the building is safe. However, we want property owner to have a contractor apply for a permit, submit the proper signed and sealed plan for the work that was done, obtain the permit, and if they wish to submit a letter from a PE to cover the work that was done, we can close the permit.
Okay. So the letter that we're discussing that was written simply has to do with the safety of the building. It doesn't stipulate that the repairs that were made are satisfactory.
It may have said that,
okay,
but we still need the permit.
Still need the permit. Okay, good. That clarifies it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Cantrell, we have your, actually, I'm going to need a motion first.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
I'll second that.
All in favor? All opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Cantero, can we have your recommendations, please?
So for compliance to be met, it's pretty simple. Apply for, obtain, and complete the required permitting, being as he already has an engineer letter saying it is safe, that all the inspections were done properly. All he needs to do is submit the plans, apply for the permit. Should be fairly easy.
Okay, Mr. Garrido, did you understand that, hear and understand that?
Mr. Brown, I apologize. I'm hard of hearing, but I missed the last part. But if it pleases the board.
I just need to.
Yeah, go on.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So this is the letter dated, which I can forward to the board real quick in response to him. This, and it's dated May 24th, 2022, and it was signed and sealed at 8:25 a.m. This is to state that we have inspected the subject property on September 1st, 2021, and found that the damage due to the vehicle hitting the building has been repaired, meeting the latest Florida Building Code 2020 7th edition. The entry point for the strike was the window. Due to the location of impact, there was no damage to the structural beam. Primary damage was contained to the CBS block surrounding the window opening. Emergency repairs were completed under Florida Building Code under permit exemption, section 105.2 of the FBC. There are currently no unsafe conditions that can be observed. Yours truly, Dr. Ram Goel, PE 47431.
Okay,
Signed and sealed.
We understand that, but it has to go through.
Yeah, it needs to-
It did them.
I have emails to reflect that the email was sent to the city.
Yeah, so it sounds like you have the hard part done, you just have to apply for the permit, submit that with the permit, and they approve it, and then it's closed. It's like literally all you have to do.
That's all you
Okay,
have to
and
do.
one last thing.
Right there.
When we were struck, it was during the middle of COVID, okay? I subsequently was admitted at Advent Hospital into the ICU, and I almost died. I'm a COVID researcher as well, so that business went out the window. I'd helped develop some of the antibodies. I was sick from January until March. So 90 days, and I have diminished lung capacity in the whole 9 yards. I have nothing but grief the whole time. If it pleases the board, I'll have my uncle, who's a state certified architect in GC, and by the way, he did not write this letter. This is a gentleman from India, so it's no relations to me whatsoever. And I will pull that permit as per what they wanted. It was a no-fee permit because I already had a PE letter based on the fact that they sent me, and the board hasn't addressed that they sent the letter 3 weeks after the incident. So how can it be so dangerous and so unsafe?
Listen, all you have to do is apply for the permit,
Fine.
submit that, and they'll approve it, close the permit, and done.
And it'll be all done.
Okay. Can
I'm
I-
sorry that you've gone through all that. We all have those kinds of stories, unfortunately. But
Really, that
literally
bad?
for this, yeah, I was in the hospital too, but I'm not telling you all that.
No, but I drove.
All you have to do for this that we're talking about today is do the permit, submit that paperwork, and the permit gets approved, and we're done. And you're done.
And I want an
Literally it.
investigation unto determine their occupation of the property, so it's not here in the city.
That's not us.
That's not what you're preaching to the choir. Well, hey, I had COVID too, okay? Well, a lot of us did. You're not listening to this.
I heard it, sir. I'm just
Go to
frustrated.
the permit department. We're not the permit
We
department.
know you've been through a lot. We do.
Yep.
Your concerns are above our pay grade, and we're here just to solve this little problem.
Okay.
We can't solve those other problems for you, unfortunately. All we can do is this.
Okay.
We're listening to you. We are listening.
And so,
I've just never had the opportunity to speak before.
That's okay. We
So
understand.
thank you. I
We understand.
appreciate
You're getting it out.
my-
We understand.
We know more about it now.
Yeah,
We didn't know anything.
yeah. So,
You gotta give us a chance to,
I understand,
you know,
sir. I
process
apologize.
this.
thank you, sir.
If somebody can help me or maybe call me later, Mr. Osorio said that because of the issue with the sheriff and the city not being able to enforce, there were some posts that they said the city would either let me put in front of the windows. So since I'm in an open forum now, they're filled with concrete and put in front of my windows. That was Mr. Osorio's rule, but obviously, as previously stated, he's not with the building
You
department.
have to just work with your code enforcement.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, thanks.
Inspector Cantrell, if you want to finish with your
Sure.
recommendations.
Recommendation for case 31-23 is complete the permit by May 26th. That would be obtain and complete the permit by May 26, 2023, or a fine of $150 per day that the violation continues to exist, and any reasonable cost to be applied as liens against the property. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law.
Mr. Gerardo, is the 26th of May, is that
Well, sir, it depends on how backed up they are. My uncle's an architect, he would have to register with Pinellas County first with
Yeah,
the
you
Department of.
already have the letter.
Yeah, you have the
You have
letter.
the signed sealed letter.
I do.
Get the permit.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're gonna keep this date. If you want a little more time, we'll give it to you. If
I
you
just
not,
wanted to, just in case, because I don't know what my
I was
uncle's
gonna
workload
suggest
is,
that,
and I
we
have
give
to.
him more time.
you want to,
I'm more than happy to come back before the board if I can't get it or something.
Come back.
Yes.
The board's next meeting is the 24th. If you want just a status update on that date, we can do that.
okay.
Okay.
I'll work with
Let's do
Mr. Root to get it accomplished. I just can't speak for my uncle. I
We'll
haven't.
do
This
June,
is all we can do, is just
we're
give
gonna
them
do,
more time.
we're gonna do June 24th,
Okay,
a status update.
Yes, sir.
On what's going on.
understood.
Okay. Can I get a second motion?
I move you enter order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before June 24th, a status report. If the respondent does not comply by the date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation of each date each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien. I'm sure that you will be able to get your permit.
Yes,
Can
sir.
I ask you a question? Did you want June 24th or May 24th?
Well,
May
yeah.
24th is a month. June 24th?
Okay. But we'll put it up on next meeting just to give you a status update where everything is.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. I'm right here.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you to everyone who's involved in me. I
That's all we
appreciate
can
it.
do
I
for now.
apologize for my behavior. I'm just rattled. This has been going on way too long.
We get it. Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Be patient,
Yep.
be more, okay?
I thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
All right, our next item on the agenda is 4.8, case 42-23. Find respondents Terrence Flass at 1647 Dartmouth Street in violation of code for unsafe building, and issue an order with a compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Sir, step forward.
Just let him go first.
Well, we'd like to hear from the citizen first.
Would you like me to
Are you the respondent?
Are you the respondent to this? Okay, state your name and address. Has he been sworn in?
Yes.
Okay, state your name and address for the record, please.
Terrence Flass, 1647 Dartmouth Street.
All right. Mr. Flass, do you admit or deny the violation?
Well, until about a month and a half ago, I was not aware that there was more than one code enforcement. After the incident happened, code enforcement officer, not Jason, I guess, apparently wasn't Jay, came by and told me, he says, we want to give you time to deal with your tragedy. So I was assuming that there was only one code enforcement officer, and therefore I was given time to do it. No deadline or anything, just we want to give you time to do it. So I guess technically I'm in violation, but I was under the impression that I wasn't.
Okay. All right.
I'd ask that you make your finding after hearing from him.
Yes.
Yeah, I am. I was just asking if he was, but okay, sir. If you'll have a seat right there, we'll hear from Inspector Cantrell, and then we'll get back to you.
Good afternoon, Board. Jason Cantrell, City of Clearwater. This is 1647 Dartmouth Street. Here we have one violation. It's an unsafe structure, citing sections 3-1502A for property maintenance requirements and section 3-1503B2 for nuisances. Notice of violation was sent on October 25th, 2022. That's incorrect. Compliance is 27 days after the receipt of the notice, and certified mail receipt was received on November 15th, 2022. The notice of hearing was sent on January 30th, 2023. An affidavits of posting and service was done on January 30th, 2023, and April 7th, 2023. This property is just north of Gulf to Bay and just east of Crest Lake. This was a structure fire. You can see it there's a lot of debris inside, so I wasn't able to go in. I don't believe the fire department was able to get inside, at least not easily either. So my photos are all from the outside as best as could be. You can see the damage in the roof. That's pretty typical from fire department in fires. And you can see a better view of the interior of the home there.
Would you say that house is total?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, oh, yeah. You got structural burn there.
So you can see here, it's kind of hard to tell if there's any damage on the joists here. But all the drywall is down. You can see the hole in the roof. Here you can see a lot of structural damage there. So that's going to need to be addressed. This is through the side door, I believe. And I think this was my first posting, and you can see he did secure the property, so there's no entry into there. However, you know, buildings are built to be one unit to be structurally sound, and if there's a compromise in the roof system, you know, that could affect the walls and such, so it still could be unsafe.
Yeah.
And that's really all I have for this one.
We're glad you didn't go in there, Jason. Yeah. That looks compromised.
Yeah.
Board, do you have any questions for Mr. Cantrell? Mr. Flass, would you like to come back up, sir? Is there anything you would like to say?
Well, I would like to repair the roof, repair the fascias off it, put in new doors, windows, or shutters, and have it painted and make it not an attractive nuisance. I'm not going to be living in it. I just want to make it not an attractive nuisance.
Okay. All righty, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you have
Mr. Kenny.
any plans, I mean, as far as cleaning?
I've been going daily. I also work, so I can't spend much time. I'm an old man, so usually I can't work more than 3 hours. I've been cleaning out the house. My plan is basically to clean it out and then have it reevaluated as to what I need to do. If it can be repaired or if it needs to be destroyed.
Where's the no insurance?
No.
Okay.
No, I was dropped due to hurricanes.
Unfortunately, when it comes down to damage like this by fires, and it's left that way, even though you've got it boarded over, it can go into a health factor.
Well, what kind of health factor?
Well, you trap rodents in it, okay?
Since I've been in there, I've only seen one rat,
Yeah.
and that was because I inadvertently was feeding it. I was in there one time, and a stray cat wandered in.
Yeah.
I had to lock it up to go to work.
Well,
I was afraid if the cat was trapped in there, I was leaving food for the cat, food and water for the
It's what
cat.
you don't see.
You already had
I'm
food.
concerned about.
Excuse me?
It's what you don't see I'm concerned about.
I'm thinking I would,
In other words, how long do you think it would be before you can get the dwelling cleaned out? I know you're working on it.
yeah, I'm hoping it would be another 3 months. And also then, once I cleaned it out, it would be kind of like vacant inside. I could have exterminators come in to
Exactly.
make sure that there are no rodent problems or something.
Yeah. Yeah. First things first, I understand.
Yeah. I mean, first things first, I would say, beautify it,
Yeah.
and then clean it out, and then reevaluate it at that point.
is the roof still open?
Excuse me?
Is the roof still open? Is the roof, the hole in the roof, is it still open or?
Yes. I need to get that repaired.
Well, that's where the fireman did that.
Yeah. The fireman maybe did more damage than.
Well, that's procedure. You have to.
I know.
You have to let it breathe.
The reason I ask is that with with rain and the amount of debris that's in there, there's going to be likely a strong concentration of mold and mildew. That's also a health risk that should at least be mentioned for.
Haven't noticed any mold or mildew.
Well, you won't notice it because you're not living in it. It's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I'm there 5 to 6 times a week.
But we haven't had any rain lately either, have we?
A little bit, but not much. Well, that's why I figured the roof would be the first thing I would fix.
Thank you, Mr. Flass. If you'll have a seat. Mr. Cantrell, can I get a motion?
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Cantrell, do you have a recommendation? Do you have a recommendation, Mr. Cantrell?
Yes, for compliance to be met, apply for, obtain, and complete the required permitting and necessary repairs.
Me too.
And complete that permitting and repairs by May 26, 2023, or a fine of $150 per day that the violation continues to exist, and any reasonable cost to be applied as liens against the property. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law. We do realize that that is not enough time, so we will leave it up to you guys to.
Yeah, we're for it.
I can tell you, based on experience, that if he's doing it by himself, the majority of the influence side of that thing's going to have to be gutted because it's open to weather, it's open to rain, it's been sitting a while, and I think there's a lot more work there than anybody realizes.
June 24th?
Getting it.
June 24th?
July. I've done that kind of work.
Yeah,
I've had to go in there
I've
and clean it
done
up.
this too, but I do it in 30 days.
Yeah, but, it takes a long time.
It shouldn't take that long, but anyway.
That insurance.
Well, it does.
I do this for a living, so.
I did it for a living. I'm with you, but I know what I'm talking about
But
too.
anyway, so what time do you want to give them?
July.
I like July.
You guys all right with July?
July, Nicole, what July?
24th was our next meeting, is that right? Is that what you said for the July meeting? Or was that?
He's working, and he can only do it part-time.
You got that?
Well, I'm glad you got it.
Well, there's junk hauling companies somewhere.
And understanding that if he works with the code enforcement and is good faith and is making some accomplishments,
26th?
we can always slide it even more.
July 26th.
Let's go ahead and make a motion then. I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before July 26, 2023. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If the fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Can I get a second, or?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Mr. Flass, do you understand that we're going to give you until July the 26th for your permits and everything? And then we'll come back then and we'll see where you're at. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, our next case is 4.9 on the agenda, case number 43-23. Find respondent Stephen Rulland and at 1401 Drew Street in violation of code for permits and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that?
Yes.
Come forward, state your name and your address for the record, please.
Steve Ruland, I own 1401 Drew Street. You want my physical address where I live?
Sure, yes.
8964, excuse me, 112th Street, Seminole, Florida. I have not been sworn in.
You haven't? All right, let's swear you in first. I'm sorry.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout your entire testimony?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Ruland, do you admit or deny the violation?
Yeah, I know the violations are there. It's not a problem with me fixing things.
Okay.
My problem is the people who are in there, I cannot get out. Their lease was up a year ago. They haven't paid me a penny since. When I went there a few times that I had to go there, dropped the awnings when the hurricane was coming, I had to call the police because the guy comes out and just in my face yelling and screaming at me that I'm trespassing on the outside of my building. I called the police. He was yelling at the police. They wouldn't close the door, or the window rather, in the garage so that I could drop the awning there, so hurricane was coming. That's what I'm up against. You know, I wish they hadn't reported me, of course, but I'm not complaining. These things need to be taken care of. And they're very minor compared to what I've seen here today, so I'm thankful of that. They're things that I normally do myself. I lost a lot of money during COVID, and I'm not able to pay somebody to come and do it, but I'm capable of doing it all.
Okay.
Have you started the eviction process with them?
But I can't get in the house. I went to an attorney, and these people, just to let you know what I'm up against, they I assume, can I ask, did they call you to come inspect the house?
They called and made a complaint.
Okay, they made a complaint to City of Clearwater, made a complaint to Nikki Freed's office, they made a complaint to the Nellis County Code Enforcement. They even made a complaint to the Our Florida. For those who don't know what Our Florida is, it's a company that was helping people pay their rents during COVID. They set it all up. The way I could get the money was to write 3 leases. There's 3 people in there. So now I got 3 leases. I go with my attorney. It cost me 3 times as much to get them out. I'll never do that again. I offered them cash for keys, $800 each, so 800 times 3. That was, in my mind, a starting point, but they wouldn't even consider that. And they used to love me. I got all kinds of emails from them, what a great guy I am for letting them stay there during COVID. They were paying me $500 a month instead of $1,300 a month, which was half of what Zillow says it's worth, because it has some problems. I understand that. But I figured during COVID, what am I going to do? Take what I can get. I'm financially embarrassed now for the first time in probably 50 years. And it's something that's easily taken care of if I can get these people out of there. Yes, ma'am.
So they're living there making complaints about the condition of it, yet they're not moving out, so they're staying there.
And they won't let me in.
Have you
to fix
started a
things.
formal eviction process?
I don't have the money right now to pay the attorney because there's 3 leases. It's going to cost me, he thinks, about $6,500.
Just to start the eviction?
$4,000 to my name right now.
Probably could go to the courthouse and start the process there.
Like $35, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could do that on your
Yeah,
own.
you can.
Yeah, there's a lot of information even online. I mean, that's the world I live in. You can start the process of an eviction. And that is like legally, those are the things you have to do.
With people like this, in my mind, I thought I better have an attorney do it. Because,
Yeah.
and what they're trying to do is stay there as long as they can. They don't want anything fixed. They don't care about that. For some reason in their mind, they think if they make enough complaints, somebody's going to help them. The one that Nikki Freed's office said that I should have to pay him for all the things that were damaged because of the flood. You wrote on the report that the roof leaked, but did you see any evidence of the roof leaking? You did? Okay. It has before, I repaired it once. Okay.
Is there utilities still on?
I know.
As far as I know.
I know, they're dragging.
As far as I know.
All right, Mr. Rutland, if you...
I mean, they pay their utilities, you don't?
At this point, yes.
Okay.
I was responsible for the electric for over 4 years before I could get them to put it in their own name.
Okay.
But all I'm asking for is time to get them out of there, and I will take care of it.
If you want to have a seat in the front row, we'll let the inspector come up and we'll get
Start the
this
eviction.
going.
Good afternoon, Board. Nilda Espinosa, Housing Inspector. I'm here for case 4323.
Could you speak up?
I'll try. All right, there's one violation with 6 housing issues. The exterior, which is windows, roof, cracks in the walls and the exterior door, interior cracks in the walls and the floor, pest elimination, and electrical. And notice of violation was sent out in December, and compliance date was, excuse me, January of this year, and certified receipt return was received in January. Oops. Notice of hearing was sent out on March 27th. Certified mail was returned in this month, 14th. Affidavit posting was done on the 27th of March. The house is on the south side of Drew. It's east of North Betty Lane and north of Cleveland. Keep doing that. That's what the house looks like. It's on the corner of Drew and South Hillcrest, I believe. This is what is going on. There's a big crack in the wall in the kitchen. You can see water damage come in. There's a crack there, and the paint is bubbling. That's water intrusion to me. There's a crack in the floor. Kind of hard to see, but I put the arrows there so that you can see. Stains. That's where the water's coming in. And that's all over the ceiling. I didn't enter all the photographs that I had. There's a crack there. This is like a sliding glass door in that back room. That's where the water's coming down through that crack. Termites. This is in the garage. You can see more cracking.
Looks like structural. What's this roll?
That's a big one.
House is
Windows are missing, window panes. This is how they keep the windows closed. Some of the windows are not open, cannot be opened because they're screwed shut. There's more cracking, and that's been filled in with foam. And this is an exterior.
At what point is it considered unsafe for the people you have to make them move? Like, cause it looks, that's your world, but that looks very unsafe.
Yeah, it is, yeah, you're right.
Mr. Root can.
I mean, that probably is like deterring us from what we're supposed to be talking about, but
Yeah,
to me, it just seems like that's a ticking time bomb. I mean, to see the cracks in the floors like that?
Yeah, we're not to that point right now.
Okay.
We could either have an unsafe case or a housing case at this point. We've determined that this is just a housing case. It appears to be maintenance.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you.
It's been there for a long time, this crack.
Oh, yeah.
This is inside the garage again, on the opposite wall, the east wall. This is on a windowsill. This is the side door from the garage into the side yard. That's missing. That panel is all, it's not good. That's filled in. That's the same door. That's filled in with foam on both sides. More cracking. This is an outlet. It will not hold in the plug. The plug leans out, comes out. Not all the way, partially. And this light fixture is just hanging there. That's outside the garage. It's just hanging by a wire. That's not safe. And that's a picture of the posting for today's hearing.
Yeesh.
All right, board, do we have any questions?
The fact that people are living here, this is more concerning to me than the previous house we just saw.
Yeah, that's an accident waiting to happen here.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
All right, your recommendation is what?
Okay, compliance on or before May 31st of this year, $150 per day. After 3 months from the recordation date of such lien, if the fines and fees remain unpaid, the city attorney's office is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien using any legal or equitable remedies available under the law.
All right. Board, can I get a motion?
I move to find the respondent in violation of, this is the first
This
motion.
is just the first motion.
First motion. I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
All in, fa- or,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Now, do you have a question you can
Yeah,
ask?
where do I start with this? It would seem to me the primary problem is just getting access to the property to do the repairs. So in terms of time, the question becomes how much time does it take the owner to accomplish eviction or whatever so that he can get in?
I mean,
Or
that's
motivate the tenants to move.
yeah, I mean, that's a process.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know attorneys that for $500 you can start the process just to do the formal paperwork. I mean, who wants to spend $500, but at least it's not breaking the bank completely, but just to begin the notice, you know? But, you know, the eviction process itself takes a while.
Yeah.
It takes a couple months before they eventually will send the sheriff's office out to remove the people.
Yeah. Perhaps the thing to do is give him some time and
Mr. Roman, would you come up, please?
check progress.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear half of that.
Do you think that, what did she say, for, on the May 31st? Do you think that you're going to be able to get in there to make repairs by May 31st? That these people are going to keep you from coming in to do
They're
repairs?
going to keep me from coming in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a 70-year-old man, I have some health conditions, I can't go up against this guy.
Okay,
And-
we don't want you,
and
we don't
I would
want you
be
to,
in danger.
you know?
I had to call the police just to put the shutters down. I had to call the police any time I went there, even if I was just on the outside of the
Because
house.
this is going to be tough if you can't get in.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to get-
All they want to do is stay there as long as they can, because I believe they're going to be homeless. But, you know, I can't help that anymore.
You really need to start the eviction process.
Yeah.
And I know there are attorneys that will do it for cheaper just to get the ball rolling, but you yourself can actually go down to the courthouse, and they have a law library for someone to help you if you're concerned about the paperwork. But I know an attorney offhand that for $500 will start that ball rolling. Yesner Law?
Pardon me?
Yesner Law, am I allowed to? I mean, I don't benefit from it, but I have utilized his services, so.
The new one.
I don't know, I'm deferring to you, but,
See, I went to the attorney, we put the notice on the door.
yeah.
Put the notice on the door that the lease.
They have to mail,
When I went there, then he was yelling at the policeman. He said there was never a notice on my door. Well,
well, they'll document it for you, but there is a procedure that they have to follow. They have to mail a 3-day notice, or, I'm sorry, put a 3-day notice on the door first, and then they have to mail, yeah, so they're following that process, and you need to keep following that and have the attorney follow that so that you can get them out of there. Because it will take a couple months to even get them out of there before you can even begin to start the work.
You're going to have to...
Like, you have a work issue for sure.
I know, but I don't have the cash to
See,
pay.
they're hoping you won't, you know, but you're going to have to.
And the thing is if you don't, like, if the pictures that we're looking at, like, that house looks like it's gonna start causing some more issues, and that's a liability issue then on you as the property owner for this house to be in the condition that it is.
Well, if I may,
I think you're stepping over bounds.
I'm sure I am, I'm sorry. I'm not an attorney, I'm not giving legal advice,
Why
but,
don't we just say that
June 24th.
we start the process of looking at a fine after he's got the people evicted, and he works with city code
yeah.
on a daily basis, and if he's not doing anything, city comes back to us and says he's not doing anything, and then we can come back
We
and...
kind of got to start it so it gets the people evicted.
Yeah, we're gonna,
Start it now so it gets
yeah,
them evicted.
and we're going to extend it out to June 24th instead of May 31st.
Okay, well,
So,
and as long
that'll
as he
give 'em a
shows
little-
good faith in getting them evicted,
Gotta
then
get
we
moving
can
on it.
go.
So, all right, can I get thank you, Mr. Rowan. You can have a seat if you
Yeah,
want, sir.
he needs to get
Pardon me?
You can have a seat if you want. Thank you.
Can I add something?
Sure, go ahead.
I bought the house 12 years ago. Those cracks were there then. They're no larger now than they were then.
I understand. All right, can I get a second motion?
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before June 24th, 2023. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation. For each day, each violation continue to exist. If fines, fees, and remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
May I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Our next case is 4.10 on our agenda.
So do you understand what needs to happen?
Yeah, do you,
You look like he's gonna say something.
Code enforcement.
You're a code enforcement officer.
yeah. Mr. Espinoza, right?
May I add something, because it is a rental property, he cannot do the work. He has to hire a contractor.
That's another issue, but not for us, yeah.
That's not for us.
Yeah.
Gotta keep it
All right.
careful here so you show good faith, that's all. If you run into problems, we'll extend it further. We work with you.
This is case 44-23, find respondents at 1295 Santa Rosa LLC at 1295 Santa Rosa Street in violation of code for lot clearing and issue an order with a compliance deadline and a fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Sir, will you come up? If you haven't been sworn in, be sworn in and state your name and address for the record, please.
Joseph Dolphin, address is 2401 South 25th Street.
What was your last name?
Dolphin, D-A-L-F-I-N.
Thank you.
Mr. Delphin, do you deny or
I deny.
the
Yes, so,
violation? Okay.
If you want to have a seat.
Yeah, if you just want to have a seat, we'll hear
We'll
from
call you back up.
We'll call you back up. We'll hear from the city.
Good afternoon again, Board. Again, I'm John Stevens, Code Inspector with the City of Clearwater, and this is going to be in reference to case number 4423 regarding 1295 Santa Rosa Street. This is going to have one violation on it for Code Section 3-1503B5A, which is accumulation and placement of nuisances. So basically, we're going to be talking about trash and debris. Notice was mailed out and physically posted on the property on March 10th of this year. You can see our compliance date there, and then the green card was not returned to the city, but using our UPS tracking website, it shows that the letter was delivered to their office on March 21st of this year. This is an apartment complex that had recently changed ownership, and on the day that we actually got the call about this, there was a couple days beforehand, there had been more trash out there, that Solid Waste had posted it and picked it up, and then you can see very quickly over here and back over here, there was more things that were showing up on the property basically daily. We worked together with Solid Waste that was going down there and had to increase their actual pickup schedule from several times a week to almost daily to get all the trash that was being deposited on the property. This was on that same posting date. This was as well. And this was actually on the compliance date of 3/20. And what you can see down here on the bottom, if you look, it's kind of hard to see. I think I have a close-up photo of it. It's where that sliding glass door was busted out, and there was just all kinds of glass on the concrete slab there. I went back about a week after the compliance date, and you can see this was a tree that had been down that we had included in there for the debris that had not been cleaned up, even though they had cleaned some of the things up, but where there's not been somebody on the property actually monitoring it, people that were leaving there or moving out after being evicted or whatever the case may be, was just randomly throwing trash on the property, and it was laying there for days. That's on 4/20. And all the stuff I just showed you right there, that actually got cleaned up within a couple of days, but then on 4/24, this stuff was again deposited out there, and that's Solid Waste posting right there. You can see in the yellow, with that being in the right of way. That's 4/24, some of it's still out there. This is on today. This morning. And the tree, the other debris is still in there, but like I said, some of the other things they had cleaned up out there, it's just stuff just keeps showing up there. So compliance can be met for this by obviously removing all loose trash and debris from the property and maintaining the cleanliness of the property on a weekly basis. And our recommendation for the accumulation of waste and nuisances is request compliance on or before May 26th for the violation of lot clearing, and a fine of $250 per day for each day the violation exists.
All righty, Mr. Stevens, thank you.
I
Mr.
have
Dolphin?
just one question.
Oh, okay.
For the inspector. John, do you think most of this trash or furniture is coming out of their apartments?
Yes, there was quite a few people that, I guess after the eviction process happened, fought it and stayed there, and I've periodically seen moving trucks and vehicles showing up and people loading things up, so I'm assuming that some of that is going to be things that they didn't want to take with them and just do it out on the property.
Left it there, okay.
I have a question too. Is there a dumpster on site?
There is a dumpster, I think it is a 6-yard dumpster on the front, so it's kind of a smaller one. And then solid waste, from my understanding, worked with them, and they ended up getting that rollback dumpster that's down there. But that was later on in the process, because this originally started in February, but that was under the original owner, and we had not realized at that point, because of property appraiser, that ownership had actually changed hands to a new buyer. So we had to repost and everything because this was still going on, like I said, on basically a daily and weekly basis.
Okay. Any more questions, Board, for Inspector Stevens? Mr. Dolphin, would you like to come up and...
Yeah, so, as he was saying, that people, they come with moving trucks, and they come and they bring all their stuff and they throw it. So we have videos of people coming. We filed police reports of people coming with trucks, and they come to just throw their stuff there. So we set up a person. He goes every week, like a company, which clears out the trash. I just have my pictures from today, which he did. So we're just trying to keep the place clean, and yeah, we just, that's about it.
When you say people come with trucks and throw the trucks...
Yeah, I have a video. It's literally expensive.
Wait a minute. People, what people?
The old tenants.
The tenants, okay.
I mean, they're not there anymore, but they come with their trucks. And
Are they still coming there after they don't live there anymore?
Yeah, so we bring up video cameras, and we have police reports on the people.
So after they move, they're bringing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoa, okay.
All right.
It's kind of tough, but...
Yeah.
Well, is May 26th, is that...
I mean, we're ready. We have a guy every week that comes, so if that's what it knows.
Okay, all righty.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion, or a second motion, please? Or did I get a first one?
We didn't get a first one.
Let me get a first motion.
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Can we get a second motion, please?
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before May 26, 2023. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $250 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If the fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
You get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Dolphin, you understand that as long as you keep it clean, you're good to go, okay? All right, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, let's get to our unfinished business. We need to accept the affidavits of compliance as listed, and we can do these as well.
Yes.
Okay. We have 5.1.1, affidavit of compliance for Randy Higgins, 5.1.2, affidavit of compliance for Angel Investment Group of Tampa, 5.1.3, affidavit of compliance for Maryland Totem Trust, 5.1.4, affidavit of compliance for 599 East Bay Esplanade LLC, and 5.1.5, affidavit of compliance for RSRCA CD 2201 LLC.
I move to accept the affidavits of compliance as listed.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. This is going to be case 5.2 on our agenda, case number 104-22. Accept the affidavit of non-compliance for respondents Bruce B. Moffett at 1465 South Evergreen for fences and driveway surface. Is there anyone here to speak on that? No?
I move to accept the affidavit of non-compliance and issue an order that imposes fines and states if fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. This is 6.1 on our agenda, case number 04-15, consider request by petitioner Truman 2016 SC6 Title Trust Truman Capital Advisors LP at 1615 Drew Street to reduce the fine RE for exterior storage, lot cleaning, and inoperative vehicles, and if approved, issue an order that specifies a fine that includes administration costs and establishes a date payable, or the lien will revert to its original amount. Is there anyone here to speak on that?
I believe. And, Board, if I may, Melissa Isabel, City Attorney for the Board. I'm going to go ahead and present, and then we'll speak with, I'm sorry, could you tell me? Stephanie C. Thank you. So this is a new procedure for us. I think we talked about it a few months ago, that the City Council was issuing a resolution that was granting you all the authority to reduce liens at the request of the property owners. So this is our first one we've gotten since that new procedure is in place. So what happened here, just to give you all a little bit of background, is this property has been recently gone through a foreclosure process, so a bank now owns it. She does represent the bank in this particular case. So the bank brought to the attention of Madam Clerk that they would like to discuss a lien reduction in this case. They fill out the paperwork. The property is found to be in compliance currently, which is the only reason that we'll bring it in front of you, is if the property is in compliance. And then we've gathered information, as well as they'll make a request to you, and then you all will ultimately decide if the lien is to be reduced and the amount that the lien will be reduced. So that's where we're headed with this, just to give you a background. And now I'll give you some specifics about this particular property.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Does the city make a recommendation?
We're not going to make a recommendation as to the amount that you're going to reduce it. I'm going to give you the hard cost that the city has expended in this case, and then you all can decide what's appropriate at that point. Okay, so this is a property that the bank did come into ownership of in fall of 2022. I don't have the exact date, but I'm sure she could probably provide it for you. It has been found in compliance at this point. This case originated in 2015. It was a case where the property was cited for debris, outdoor storage, and those types of violations. Typically, you all do enter orders where the city will go on and abate the property. That's not what occurred in this case. The fines that you're going to hear occurred are purely the daily fines that you imposed. So the hard costs in this particular case are $884 in investigative costs by the inspector. And I can give you a breakdown of what is included in those costs, as well as, Madam Clerk, do you have costs as well? I'm sorry, I didn't.
760.
741.20.
741.20.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, it's not. Hold on one second.
That's part of the 84?
No, this is separate.
Addition to the 884.
And I apologize, I haven't done the math to do that, but I will after, while she's speaking, I'll do the math for you. In this particular case, the current lien amount is $878,100 is what has accrued on this property. Again, the bank did not own it at the time the property accrued those fines, and the actual hard costs to the city are...
$1,658, the total of those two.
Thank you. My understanding from the lien reduction paperwork that we did receive from the bank, they are willing to pay, or they're going to be requesting at the time of this paperwork, $3,000. So I will defer.
I'm sorry, you get confused me there. They're going to request $3,000?
That's what this lien paperwork that we...
So they'll pay $3,000 or...
I believe you'll discuss with her what the bank is willing to pay, okay?
What was the total cost?
807.
The total costs are $1,600.
Yeah, 1,600.
1,600, okay.
And then the total fines is $878,100.
That's the part I didn't get.
Yeah. So.
Hi.
Hi.
Good afternoon,
Can you
everybody.
state your name and address?
My name
for
is
the record?
Stephanie C. I'm with Results Real Estate, representing Truman Capital. Our office is at 9534 Seminole Boulevard, Seminole 33772. So, a lot of thousands of dollars. This property has been in violation since 2015. Did you get a copy of the package I submit with the timeline?
They did not.
Okay.
I have a copy of it though, and I can put it up on the, Elmo if you'd like.
It would be helpful, excuse me for putting in, but it would be helpful if you could tell us when you took over the property and when you started fixing it up.
And it's on here.
Instead of going through all that.
So the the foreclosure was completed on September 20th, 2022. I did visit the property to see who was occupying the property. It was the former mortgager. And I did offer the former mortgager relocation assistance after asking if he was planning to move out or, so we do offer relocation, sometimes called cash for keys. And the former mortgager, the occupant, Mr. Higgins, did let me know that he could not clean up the property and that he would just move out, which the agreement is usually to have the house clean. I would try to arrange it, which I did. And I did ask him at that time, when I was at the property, I'd noticed it was for sale previously as a short sale. And at one time said there were code violations that the new owner would have to take care of. So I asked Mr. Higgins about them, and he said no, his former agent told him that his property did not have code violations or liens. So I asked him, I sent him his paperwork. He sent me back a copy of a motion of the objection to the sale instead. And so we were not able to evict. It did have to go to evictions. That motion to object was declined. He apparently also filed a motion to stay the eviction, which was also declined. We were notified on February 3rd, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday, that we were evicting Monday morning. That eviction did take 4 days. We did have a situation where there was a lot of personal property in the home. We found a refrigerator in a bedroom. The eviction took a long time. There was the garage alone took a second day. The backyard, which I believe is what caused the majority of the violation, was for an inoperable container that shouldn't be there. And I'd asked him, because I could only see a little bit over the fence, what's that back there? It's a pod. It's where I'll put my stuff and take it when I move. It was a 28-foot trailer. I don't know how he got it in the backyard, because there's garage, about 3 feet of grass, and then the neighbor's driveway, and it was behind the house. I don't know how it got back there. We had to use an excavator and a crane to lift it over the house to get it out. It was expensive. The eviction did take longer than usual as well. This property is on Drew Street. My crew took my concerns very seriously, as they always do. There was a lot of personal papers. There was a lot of stuff. Everything had to be bagged and brought out, because it does have to sit by law for 24 hours at the curb, in this case in the yard, so as not to cause a sight impairment for drivers on Drew Street. So we got that done in a week. The backyard, because of the amount of stuff in the backyard, over 47 tractor, trailer, tires, a John boat, propane tanks, steel, heavy steel, that we need the excavator to lift, the trailer, a few more boats, a jet ski. There was a lot of stuff back there. We did have to get bids due to the amount of that to get people to get in and bid that job. So by the 23rd, that was cleared. So the eviction was on February 6th, and by the 23rd, we had everything cleared, lawn, shrubs cut, everything was good. We did notify the city. Property was re-inspected. The garage door was found to be a violation. And of course, I can't mitigate this until the property is completely in compliance. It was not part of the original violation, but it is now. So we spent $1,500 to scrape, paint, get it all, replace any rotted wood, pictures sent to the city, and then I received my affidavits of compliance.
Wow.
Sorry, I know that was a lot.
How many trucks?
How did they get back there?
Probably just a crane.
There were 47 tires, I believe on one of the bid, it was 47 tires.
Okay.
I do have photos, however, I'm very careful, even though it was an eviction and it's public and that is on the street, those pictures depict somebody's life, regardless of how that house was. And it was dozens of trips. My contractors take care in, because they have to for billing too, this is truck one going to the dump, how many yards it was. I do have photos of that trailer being pulled out. And our goal, clearly when I visited the property, I could tell that even though Mr. Higgins had said there were no violations, I'm like, okay. I don't think that's true, but there's nothing we can do, obviously, until we have access to the property. So we start on that on day one. I had to put signs up in the house to caution. We pulled all the flooring, all the carpets out, but there's one room you still can't walk through. There was stuff under furniture and it just was not a good situation.
Sounds like a salvage yard in the back there.
It's clean now. It's very clean now. So we did do that. We had multiple offers on the property. We are under contract. Our original date to close was tomorrow. We do have an extension in process because Mr. Higgins has filed another appeal. His time to respond to that was it was earlier this month, I apologize. It was April 11th. And that was when he had to file his response to that. He did not. Our attorneys obviously have asked for that appeal to be just overturned, so that we can get the property closed. The new owner will be obviously rehabbing the entire thing.
Could I ask you a question? So based on all this, now we just make a decision how much we cut that fine, which is pretty clear to me we're going to cut it sizably, and the city cost, if my addition is correct, and I did go to schools here in Pinellas County, so it's $1,658 that the city would like to have paid back. Is that correct?
That is the hard cost the city has expended.
Okay, thank you.
When I filed my application, I do like to reach out, first of all, right away, and Nicole can tell you that I reach out a lot. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that when we are bringing properties, when we're reducing blight and we're bringing them up, that we are getting everything that needs to get done. And though there were no lot moons and I couldn't find anything with hard costs, the reason I had put $3,000 on the application when I was doing it, obviously, because the code investigators, that is their time and city time that was devoted to this property. And though my client did not cause the violations, we felt it was right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Go ahead, Mr.
How much, what did the bank expense on cleaning this thing up?
Well, I write those checks, as a matter of fact. Some of them they had to pay direct because of the amount. So I pay the water bill, and I pay the power bill, and I pay $170 every month to have the lawn cleaned. And I brought that whole file with me. It was thousands of dollars.
Just a rough total.
It was a little less than 20. The eviction alone was over $8,000. Well, it's 4 days of time and lots of guys, and
So requesting the fine be reduced down to $3,000?
I was requesting if we could pay $3,000 to settle the previous mortgagors.
Is that the proper way to do it? Does that cover the city and everything else? Okay. So since it's the first time,
Yes, the hard costs are the costs we've expended, and then anything above that is.
why wouldn't we just say $1,658 since it's what the city instead of $3,000? I mean, if you want to pay a couple extra bucks to the city, that's your choice, but.
Well, you can't reduce it below the hard cost.
No, I realize so, but $1,658 is the hard cost.
The city to run, man.
I thought it was more than that.
But the application's for 3,000, why don't we just stick with the 3,000?
Yeah, we'll just,
So just so you all know procedurally, just so we all know where everybody is at the time that we put this up, that's why we request the amount that they reduce it for. And obviously, as attorneys, we know not to bet against ourselves. So we want to know what they want to offer, so that's where that number came from.
Okay.
But just so you know.
Yeah.
We don't know those hard costs coming up front, so the only time I can ask for reduced to hard costs on an application
You were being nice.
is when I can see lot mowing liens, we can see the city or county's costs at that point.
My only question was if 1658 is going to satisfy the city issue, that's what we bring it down to. If you want to leave it at 3,000,
That is your discretion, right?
yeah, I'm not going to make the motion. I just think 16.
I agree with you.
Well, somebody make that motion then.
yeah, make a motion.
You make the motion.
I don't know where to read it.
Page 5.
Page 5.
All right, let me get there.
Reduce lien.
I move to enter an order reducing the amount of the lien to administrative costs of $1,658 payable within 30 days, or the lien will revert to its original amount.
30 days.
I'll pay it.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
It's okay with you?
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for doing all that work.
Thanks for staying for me.
Thank you for taking,
It's on now.
We're not done yet.
Thanks for making it easier.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
taking such responsibility for the
Yeah, that's a
property.
lot of work.
Well, thank you, and thank you to everybody in codes for working with us.
All right, we're going to move on to nuisance abatement and lien filings.
Thank you.
7.2 on our agenda, case 46-23. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for residents BP of Pinellas LLC at 18698 US Highway 19 North for lot clearing and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Mrs. Enron, you have the floor.
What if it
Good afternoon. Dave Jensen, City of Clearwater, Code Compliance. This is going to be for 18698 US 19, case number 46-23. One violation for 3-1503 B5A, trash, debris, and nuisance. These are the dates of the certified mailing and receipt posting from the property. This property is an abandoned gas station at the corner of the US 19 service road. There's been a lot of ongoing issues with the property since it's been abandoned, graffiti and other things. The owner has taken care of the graffiti and that sort of thing on and off over the years. On one of my inspections, I found there were two couches. One was here next to this is a two-piece type couch. This is back on the 22nd of February. One piece of the couch actually ended up out at the curb after I gave them the notice of the violation. Wasn't sure who put it out there, if it was somebody that's on and off the property. There's a lot of transient activity. People were constantly dumping things in the dumpster enclosure and different things, putting graffiti on the building. I spoke with our solid waste because this is actually city property. This is not part of his right-of-way or anything else. This is actually our property. Solid waste did pick this one item up for us just to get it out of there so more people weren't dumping things. This brown cushion was not there on the property. That's something that when someone saw the couch, they obviously decided to just dump more stuff. This is the item I'm here for today. It's the dumpster enclosure. It's a 3-wall enclosure with an open front that the owner has gated off. However, he states people are just constantly throwing stuff over the top of it. I did speak with him, let him know, the longer it stays in this condition, the more people are just going to continue to throw stuff in there. His words to me were that he was going to try to get somebody down to clean it up, but if he couldn't, then the city's just going to have to clean it up and he'll pay for it. So he didn't sound like he was, yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's the easy way. So these pictures are...
Nice guy.
Yeah, well, and the other half of the, sorry, let me go back. The other half of the couch that was still there on the ground, that ended up back out that same spot at one point. And I called him and said, hey, if somebody pulled that other piece of couch out, we picked up the one, but you can't keep putting stuff out there. Yeah, my maintenance guy dragged it out there, so you guys will pick it up. And I explained to him how solid waste works. Solid waste doesn't have an account with them right now, so they will not pick anything up because they don't have a way to bill him. And so it sat there for quite a while, and it somehow attracted another couch. A giant full-size orange couch was set on top of that one. So the issue with this property is, it's like we see all over, you guys have seen it. The more stuff piles up, the more stuff piles up. So Considering the fact that this, the dumpster enclosure is not getting cleaned out, you can see from those pictures, there's garbage in there everywhere, probably rodents in and out of it, just the condition of that match. You can tell something's been crawling in and out of there and stuff. So we'd like to get that cleaned out. Compliance can be met by removing the trash and debris from that dumpster enclosure. I did speak to him and suggest that maybe he close off the top of it with some fencing or something so that people weren't able to throw stuff in there. But obviously, we'd like to get it cleaned up before that happens. So requesting the compliance within 5 days after the board renders its order.
All right. Any questions?
No.
Can I have a motion?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property. If the costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
I made a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
This is case number 5423, accept nuisance abatement lien for respondent Street Dreams Irrev Trust, Cheryl Trey Trueblood at 1400 North Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue for inoperative vehicle, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Inspector Dixon?
Afternoon, Board. Inspector Gregory Dixon, Code Compliance. This is case 54-23, 1400 North Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. There's one violation at this property for an inoperable vehicle. It's in violation of Code Section 3-1503B6. Notice of violation was sent and posted at the vehicle on the 13th of March with a compliance date 10 days later. It's just a lone Jaguar that's sitting next to a vacant building.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that Jag sitting there, yeah.
Do they ever run VIN numbers to see if they're stolen vehicles, or it's
No,
just?
I know who owns it.
Oh. He's gonna like you then.
All right, I guess we know what to do, though.
Well, I won't click to the next one, but tags from 2019. Here's a picture from 26th of this month, which is today. Same tag. Compliance can be met for the inoperable vehicle by removing the inoperable vehicle from the property. Vehicle must be roadworthy and display a current registration if it's going to remain at the property. My recommendation for this case is request compliance 5 days after the board renders its order. If compliance is not met, request an order be issued allowing the city of Clearwater to take all reasonable action, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property.
Can I have any questions?
Nope. I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of the code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, fees, and remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. This is case number 55-23, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Marguerite Valmar and Marcus Turner at 1001 Carlton Street for inoperative vehicle, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Inspector Dixon?
Inspector Gregory Dixon, Code Compliance Inspector, City of Clearwater. This is case 55-23 for 1001 Carlton Street. There's one violation to this property for an inoperable vehicle, and it's violation of 3-1503B6. Notice of violation was posted and sent the same as the other car. This is basically across the street. There's a van that's missing the license plate. I posted the property. This is a little later on. There's another vehicle that showed up without a license plate on it. And then this was today. Both vehicles remain. It's So my recommendation is the same as the last case. If they can come into compliance by removing inoperable vehicles from the property. Vehicles must be roadworthy and display current registration if they're going to remain at the property. Request compliance 5 days after the board renders its order. If compliance is not met, issue an order. Request an order be issued allowing the city of Clearwater to take all reasonable action, including entry into the property to abate and maintain the nuisance.
Can I get a motion?
I move to enter order refining the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Inspector Dixon.
Thanks.
And if that's all that we have?
A motion to adjourn?
We have another meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, after the adjourn meeting.
Yeah.
We're gonna
I got to adjourn this one, though.
Can we take a quick break?
Yes, our meeting for today is adjourned.
Yeah, after we adjourn.